Welcome to the Energy Medicine and Healing Summit, where you'll discover how to take your health into your own hands from today's top energy medicine experts and healers. Share this powerful event with your friends and family, and join in our conversation on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Dondi Dahlin.
Hello, hello, friends. So happy to have you with us today to hear Alina Frank and Dr. Craig Weiner. Alina Frank is an internationally renowned master trainer in EFT tapping and one of 4 matrix reimprinting trainers in North America. Dr. Craig Weiner has spent his past 30 years in the healing arts as a body-mind expert, supporting individuals in reaching their optimal health and well-being as a chiropractor and energy healing trainer and practitioner. Together with his wife, Alina, they live a life proving and showing individuals that they can absolutely have the relationship and life that their dreams are made of. Welcome, Alina and Dr. Craig.
Thank you, Dondi. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's lovely to be here with you, Dondi.
Thank you. We're so happy you're here today. And before we get into the questions about relationships and how to energetically attract the right person into your life, I just want to briefly touch on matrix reimprinting, because most of the listeners today will be very familiar with EFT tapping, but may not have heard of matrix reimprinting, and there can even be some confusion out there. Can you explain the difference and just touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So EFT tapping is a wonderful energy psychology tool. It goes under the umbrella of energy medicine. And so a form of tapping that I absolutely love to integrate with my EFT is something called matrix reimprinting, which was created by EFT master Carl Dawson. And basically, it is a form of going very deep into the field and finding those events early on in our life, especially between 0 and 6, when all of those belief systems, the limiting ones especially, really are just imprinted into our psyche, into our field. And we have some techniques that bring us right back to those early core memories, those core events that happen, which tend to play out again and again and again in our lives. So it looks like tapping. It incorporates EFT tapping. It is tapping on those meridian endpoints. And it just goes a little bit deeper to finding those early childhood memories that are so important to resolve in order to really have the life that we want.
Nice. So like EFT tapping, it sounds like it works hand in hand with other modalities and can be self-applied.
Yes, and it can be self-applied. I find that for matrix reimprinting, having a guide with someone who is well trained in matrix reimprinting really does add a little something, because you're in there working with your younger self. It's nice to have a guide leading you through the process, and basically you're in there tapping on your broken off selves, your little inner selves, your little inner children. And so having a guide to lead you through the process is really invaluable. So we say it does work for self-help, but I think that we always fall back on EFT as the primary self-help, and that matrix reimprinting is, I just find it more powerful with a practitioner.
Well, thank you for explaining that. I agree that practitioners are so important, and I do self-help, of course, with energy medicine, and I still love having a practitioner. It's just a guide to guide you along the way. So thank you for saying that. Well, let's talk about relationships a little bit. With relationships, many fail because people are carrying around this this trauma, this pain, this hurt from their past. So could you two talk to us about some of the key components for healing a person's past?
Sure. Craig, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would like to do first is to just say, number one, this is the Energy Summit. So I just want to put it in perspective for a moment, as Alina was saying, and you were with Matrix Reimprinting, that in the field of energy medicine is kind of the underfield of energy psychology, and that's what EFT and Matrix sits with, right? So what I want to do is, in that context of using this, we're living our own lives, and these are just techniques that help us to really clear the patterns of the past, to clear the traumas of the past, so that we can have a clear slate and look forward without just repeating and having our future be the same as our past come forward, right? So when we are looking at healing our past, there's a couple of really key components, right? So first, we just have to face it, right? We have to be willing to not just say, okay, move forward, move on, look ahead, that's behind you, because otherwise those same patterns just show up with different faces, right? The same problems just keep moving forward. So the first real step in healing your past is facing it and facing the pain and the things we don't like about our past, because only when we face them can we do anything about it and not have them keep happening over and over again. So that's really the first step. The second step is resolving it, is finding some resolution. Resolving it and gaining the wisdom and the insights, but leaving behind the guilt, the shame, the remorse, the resentments, all those things. So the resolution that we do in resolving the pain, the trauma, the decisions, the limiting beliefs, by resolving those with methods like EFT and Matrix Reimprinting, then you don't have to continue having that same pattern show up, because it's like the higher part of us wants the greatest good that we're capable of. We deserve that amazing relationship. But when we've had experiences in the past and we didn't really integrate or learn from them, it's almost like our higher self just keeps repeating the opportunity until we break the pattern. So using techniques like we're talking about here to resolve those in the past. Once we do that, we no longer tend to attract those suboptimal partners, because now we're living with a new energetic signature, a new emotional signature, which is consistent and coherent with basically having a life that's worth living and loving that life and knowing that you deserve that life and seeing the opportunities for that life in the people as they become attracted to us. So those three real steps of facing the past, of resolving the past, and then living in this new way actually tends to attract and have us show up and have people show up that tend to be of a energetic signature that are consistent with where we are, having resolved and healed that past. So that was kind of a very brief and summarized 3 steps.
And I want to add that, we came about this, I came about this really not with the intention of, oh, gee, I'm going to end my suboptimal relationship. I need to go out there and radically change my relationships. And that's how that wasn't really the seed. For many people, it could look like I have money issues, and the root of my money issues is my romantic relationship. Or it could be my health, and the root of my problems with my health have to do with my romantic relationship. So the way that I came about this and what led me to this work in energy medicine and energy psychology, it was absolutely my health. I mean, that was front and center for me. There was a big giant boulder on my path. I was really stuck and very sick. And so I had to find ways to help me with that first. And then a few years later, I realized one of the contributing factors was a relationship that was absolutely not serving me. It needed to end. And these tools helped me to finish completion with that and move on. And from that space and the healing that I initiated, I was able to attract the love of my life. And, really wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Very wonderful stuff, and this term suboptimal partners might be one that we all start using now. What a colorful term, and gives an immediate image for me. So, Dr. Craig, you talked about the second kind of step in this after facing the issue and being willing to look at it. You talked about resolving it and leaving behind the guilt and the limiting beliefs. Can you give us some tools, some tips about how to resolve this? We talk a lot, and our listeners, of course, are listening to everything you have to say, and we'd love to have some tools.
Well, obviously, this is not a training on how to do tapping. So for those that do, they'll be listening with one type of set of tools already in place, and for those that don't, that's kind of a tough one. So here's some thoughts that come up when you ask it that way. I think one of the clearest signals for us to look at in life for those things that are possibly ready to be changed are looking at patterns, right? And when we see those patterns, sometimes they look the same. Like sometimes, an example might be in a relationship. Somebody has an angry parent, right? And they don't have good control over their anger. And so they show up having relationships with somebody that, despite them hating confrontation and anger, they end up with people in relationships that fly off the handle and get angry a lot, even though they swore they hated. So on one hand, looking at patterns that show up, especially for things that you don't want, are true indicators that there's some earlier events and earlier traumas that set that pattern into play that one becomes accustomed and used to. So pattern is really a huge indicator for there's probably some trauma early on that led to decisions and beliefs we were young that went subconscious and now rule our lives. So as we start to look at these patterns, also checking in and seeing how those patterns make us feel, because we may think, okay, well, it's an angry partner, that's my pattern, but sometimes it's not that. I'm still not happy, but I'm still feeling always not safe, for example. That this feeling of not feeling safe, of asking for what I need, or not safe to be able to say what I want, or etc., that we start to look at that pattern, whether it's a pattern that's showing up externally in our life, whether it's a pattern that's showing up in a feeling that we have recurrently, seems like our whole life. These are all like beautiful signposts that the universe is saying there's a nugget at the core, and there's a place where we made this decision that we need literally to tap into, and using some sort of energy medicine method, whether it be Eft Tapping or Matrix or something else, to be able to go to those core events and be able to heal that younger part of ourselves through tapping, through releasing. So we have to think. We then have to investigate and go back and find that resolution through these methods. And, that's a hard one, explaining kind of how to do the whole method in a quick call is a bit more than I think we can do right now. Alina, unless you have something you'd like to add.
Yeah, I actually do have something I'd like to add. So one of the things that we want to do is to calm ourselves and find some ways to regulate ourselves when we are triggered, when we are activated, when things are popping up that, yes, we need to do the deeper work and we need to investigate, and we have to find those specific events that cause that and resolve that. But in the moment, how can you help yourself? And we have a really quick and easy tool that we include with Matrix Reimprinting, which comes from Heart Math. So one of the things you can do is place one hand on top of the other in the center of your chest, and you're actually activating the triple warmer like that. And you are breathing in and out through your heart. So imagine you're breathing in for a count of 6. And then breathing out, again, through your heart for a count of 6. And your listeners can do that anytime they're feeling activated, dysregulated, things are coming up. it'll just bring you back to now, to right now. You can make clear decisions. You can find resources for yourself. You can choose wisely, and that's what we're all about, especially when it comes to attracting the right partnership. We are all about choosing well.
When we are upset and when we are dysregulated, we know very clearly that blood flow does not go to the part of our brain that says, you know what, they're doing the best they can. You know what, I totally get where they're coming from, and you know what, they had a bad day, and that's why they're reacting. When we get upset and we get triggered, it's rarely the person in front of us. It's something that happened in the past that's just showing up now, which is causing me to be defensive and reactive and angry and all that. Blood flow drains away from that part of my brain that's able to think in that calm way. And now I react, and they react, and I react to their reaction, and we get in that cycle. So doing something to break that, like what you just showed, is really important.
Yes, and it's so simple. It's such a simple technique. You mentioned triple warmer, which is, it governs the fight, flight, or freeze, and all of that can be calmed down in a matter of just a few minutes. So thank you for that technique. We talk, and we're talking about manifesting the love of your life, and that's what this session is about energetically. And you two have talked about creating a powerful vortex to magnetize the right person into your life. So a lot of people, especially women, feel that they have to be perfect to magnetize the right person into their life, that they have to not only be perfect in terms of how they look and how they appear and how they present themselves, but in terms of the work that they've done in their life. They need to be emotionally ready. Can you touch on that a little bit? Does a person have to have done all the personal work in order to meet the love of their life energetically?
Alina, you want to take that?
Oh, sure. So you know, we are often asked this question in our trainings, especially when we start, socializing. Maybe on the second night of a training, we'll go out to dinner, or when we were off on a retreat center and spending many days with our students, we invariably get asked, what is the secret to your relationship? And what we love to say is that we engage in something called love, which is the law of very easy. And you get to choose well and decide who it is that makes for an ideal relationship for you. And when you actually do the work to choose well, then really that's the secret. It's very easy. A relationship where you are really finding your ideal partner in every way, then you don't have problems. Then you don't have repeating patterns. Then it just doesn't show up. And so what I love about this idea, it just strikes me as really interesting how often I hear even, new age gurus out there saying, work on yourself and work on yourself and work on yourself, and you got to have all this work because you're going to attract someone at just the right, the same level as you, and all of that, and you don't want someone, coming in that's dysfunctional and all this stuff. And it kind of cracks me up, because what I've seen over and over again for the people that do this work is that the right partner actually helps you to heal. The right partner actually enables beautiful healing to happen. And so, when Craig and I got together, some of the things that would trigger ex-partners of mine, I just sit there and wait for him to get triggered, and he just loves me, and he just say, "Oh, that's adorable." And so it was kind of a shock. And with the couples that we've seen that do this work and are attracted at this very high level, they all say the same thing. The right partner steps into the role of helping you to heal.
And there does, I just want to add, there has to be a self-actualization part. In other words, there has to be a commitment and a desire to simultaneously facing and resolving the past, that vortex of energy that combines. right? I'm taking a step and a commitment to myself and healing my past to not repeat that pattern and integrate that. On the other hand, I'm now in an environment that is safe, that is allowing me to take the next step and take another risk and integrate and heal a piece of the past and be able to share that, feel safe, integrate another piece. So the idea that we have to have done all the work first, isn't necessary, but we do tend to find that it's initiated by somebody taking a step of placing themselves first. It's initiated by somebody making a commitment to their own happiness and their own, letting go of that whole self-sacrificial thing. And so making yourself a priority, making and knowing that a right relationship is selfish, but in a big S way, as in when I am ish about self, when I take care of myself, I'm better able to serve others as well. So it is a step toward the whole. And so it absolutely can happen simultaneously, as Alina said.
So are you saying that when a person has done the work, when they've looked for the patterns, maybe journaled about them, when they've calmed and regulated themselves, that they will set up this energy which is going to attract the right partner to enable them to heal? Is that when the energy starts to really be powerful and it kind of this chemical attraction that will attract somebody else?
Yeah, absolutely, because there is nothing as magnetic or attractive as a person that's loving their life. And so regardless of whether you're doing this work to find a partner or not, it really behooves you to spend time really loving your life, because that is just so magnetic. Now, we say that there is a huge difference, though, between finding chemical attraction and energetic attraction to someone and them being an ideal partner for you. And that's where we have this concept called earthmate, soulmate. So earthmate is someone that you really get along with very easily. It's just like this wonderful flow that happens. You're together and there isn't any kind of stress or challenge. Their talents and their traits and their behaviors are things that you really respect. And there is this idea of loving consideration where they treat you like that you are the most important person in their life. And then there is the additional part where, yes, there's sexual chemistry there, there's energy. But so often in our society, we mistake that that chemical, energetic attraction to someone as, oh, they must be my soulmate. And what we're saying is, if you know the information ahead of time of what you're really looking for and have dealt with some of your past so that you have clarity, real clarity about what's going to serve you and what's not going to serve you, then you can make the decision when you do meet someone. Let's say you do meet someone tonight at a local library. There's some kind of free evening. There you are. You find yourself across the room from someone, and there's this oh, wow. And that's completely energetic. You don't know anything about the person, and you feel this instant connection. And then when you talk to them, it confirms that connection. We want you to step back and say, I've got to really analyze this. Is this someone that I have maybe some karmic debt with? And so you can resolve the things that are there energetically connecting you, maybe from a past life, maybe from some other way that that you have the opportunity to heal that, not as a lover, not as a romantic partner, but as a friend. And then you can step back and say, oh, fantastic, you just showed me something I needed to resolve in my life. Thank you very much. That drama is over. I'm done, and I'm ready to move on. Versus the very, very painful experience of thinking that chemistry and energetic attraction has to mean that this person has to be my lover. And then there's that added chemical connection and bonding that happens that when you withdraw from it, 2, 3, 4 months or longer, then what happens is you're left in a great deal of pain. And we've seen in brain scans that it's the same sort of addiction that happens for people on cocaine. So we're saying you can connect with that person energetically, be friends with them, resolve what's there, or identify that, yes, they are your ideal partner and move forward, and you do have a choice in that.
I do find, and it is my experience with people, is that when you make that commitment to that self and that self-healing regarding the issues, regarding relationship, it creates somewhat of a vacuum. It's exactly what happened with me. There was a commitment not to a new relationship, but to self-healing. I mean, a funny little story was I joined a community choir. Now, I always kind of liked to sing privately, but certainly never did it publicly, not since junior high school. And I had joined a community choir, and what I realized when I was going through that, a part of what attracted to me was it was almost like it was opening up that throat chakra. It was opening out my ability to say what I wanted and say what I needed and do it with joy and jubilance and fun. And literally that was a key, almost energetic time period of me just doing for what brought me joy, at the same time had an intent of healing me, being able to speak my truth. That literally started a cascade of events that created a vacuum that brought Alina into my life. So the clarity that Alina was speaking about with regard to, we don't just listen to chemical attraction. We just don't, align with the swipe factor of, physical attraction. We don't just follow compatibility. Oh, they like all the same things. It's a combination of many of these things that are combined with the self-work. So there are many elements, but yeah, so I just wanted to add that.
Yes, and I hear you saying with the analogy of joining the choir, if we're living passionately and joyfully and we have that wonderful kind of best friend relationship with ourself and loving relationship with ourself, then we're going to be ready for somebody coming into that energy.
It certainly opens the door and puts the sign up more clearly to that which you're looking for, that are aligned with your commitment for your highest and greatest good.
Yes. Well, we are already coming to the end of our session, and you two have talked to us about EFT tapping, matrix reimprinting that we just touched on briefly, and also healing the patterns of the past and how to do that. Be willing to look at the issues, face them so you can resolve them, leaving behind the guilt and the limiting beliefs and no longer attracting, I'm going to say it, this great term, suboptimal partners, but living in new ways, and whether that's just in the relationship with other people, but also in the relationship to health and the relationship to money. All of it can come into this, and you've given us some tools looking for patterns, calming and regulating when we are triggered, just simply by putting one hand on top of the other, on top of our chest, which will calm that fight, flight, or freeze response, and being able to create this energetic vortex to manifest love. If people want to know more about you, learn more about you, maybe take a class or find you, how can they do that?
You could go to www.efttappingtraining.com, and we have all of our upcoming events. One really exciting event that we have in May is that we are speaking at the ASEP conference. It's their 20th anniversary, and it is going to be in Orlando in Disney World. And we also have a very exciting first time ever in person. Usually we teach this online, but it'll be the first time that we teach it. LearningToFindLove.com is the program that really shows you how to step into that space of attracting your ideal partner. But we're going to do it live in person in a retreat center, Hollyhock, this summer in August up in British Columbia. So we invite everyone to join that. So I think those are the primary ways where you can find us.
Yeah,
excellent.
And we live in the Northwest, but we have upcoming trainings in Massachusetts, in Chicago, in Wisconsin, in Colorado. So just check the schedule and you can see what works best for you.
Good. And with all the knowledge you two have individually and as a couple, and this joy that you bring, is there one last thing that you want to say to the listeners today?
Oh, one last thing. Okay, I'll give you one last juicy thing, and then maybe Craig can quickly just jump in and do one last juicy thing. One juicy thing for me is the idea that no matter how you think you know, you are going to be, the circumstances for you meeting your right partner, you're going to be surprised. If it is really truly the ideal partner for you, you will be bowled over with the magic of it. And so in a town of 786 people, we were drawn together. We had never met until the circumstances were right, and he just stepped right into my life.
So if I had to give one final tip, it would be the permission to give yourself the idea that the best relationships are easy and that it's okay for it to be easy. In fact, it's actually something to go for. The happiest relationships that I've met over the long term are the ones when I ask what's their secret, they say, there is no secret, it's just easy. So the best way to get to easy is by choosing well from the beginning. I'm not saying it's not possible for anybody, but, life is hard enough and presents enough opportunities and challenges to literally have a goal of a relationship of having it be easy, I think is absolutely worth going for and just makes life so much better. So my tip is, give yourself permission for your primary romantic relationship to be easy.
Thank you, Dr. Craig and Alina. Thank you for all of this great information, and thank you to our listeners today.
Thank you for joining us for the Energy Medicine and Healing Summit, brought to you by the Shift Network. You can add every teaching and transcript to your personal library by visiting energymedicinesummit.com/upgrade. To learn more about awakening to your full potential, and together co-creating a world that works for all, visit theshiftnetwork.com. Thank you again for joining us and for sharing this life-changing information with your friends and family.